my mind is telling me no. And I'm like, don't do it. And I'm scared and I'm afraid. And I literally switch it off. Like there's a point and I'm getting better at it, but there's a point where like I just shut it off and I get in. And the reason why I love that and the reason why I kept going back is because I can take that moment, that like success moment of getting in and like just doing it and getting out of my comfort zone, getting in the cold water, and I can apply that in other areas of my life.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Get Out of Your Comfort Zone podcast. I am your host, Farhan Bundeali, and I am a digital nomad. The objective of this podcast is to share stories from my life and those who I encounter in my travels. We hope to inspire you, our wonderful audience, with ideas to get out of your comfort zone. I believe this is the secret to a great life, and I want to share this secret with you in my very special way. In today's episode, we will be speaking with Sinjin Larson about hot springs and cold plunges and how those set of experiences taught us a few secrets to enrich our lives. I hope this resonates with you. Cheers. My name is Farhan, and I am an immigrant. Ethnically, I am Indian, and I came to the United States when I was 14 years old, so very interesting time. And so I, spent a good deal of time in a very foreign country with like a very foreign upbringing, but still somewhat cosmopolitan, right? So I knew English before I came to the US. And so I have a very interesting take on life, the way most immigrants do. But where I'm unique is that, as an immigrant, I was pretty privileged, was able to go to the best schools out there and get, the best education thanks to an amazing family support system and an amazing community. And here I am, sort of future forward as a public health professional, as a nomad, as an artist, and since COVID, sort of just gallivanting across this here beautiful country of ours, right? Essentially subsisting via house sits and taking care of some lovely animals while I explore new lands and new peoples and new experiences. So yeah, that's me. What about you, Sinjin?
My name is Sinjin Larson.
Uh-huh.
I am Caucasian, so which is it's funny because usually people think I am Indian or I am Chinese before they see me when they just hear my name
Yeah,
or they see my name written down.
yeah,
I grew up here in America. I grew up in northwestern Pennsylvania, uh, on the New York border, so right in the Allegheny
mm,
National Forest. Pretty much grew up in the woods my whole life. Went to school for environmental science, not because that's what I wanted to do, but because I wanted to be outside and I didn't know what else to do. And it was kind of like, you got to go to college to,
mm. Figure it
be
out.
successful kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so went to school for that. And then throughout my, my journey of trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, essentially I did some nomading, like kind of like your story a little bit, and then ended up in Florida with a lot of my phone's doing a little weird thing. I ended up in Florida with like quite a bit of health issues that were kind of building up over the years. And as
Yeah.
a seemingly pretty healthy person, kind of hit a big roadblock in my life of I just needed to figure some things out without the help of doctors because the doctors weren't really helping me too much. So essentially, I ended up learning a lot of things more holistically and got a lot of success from it. And so now I help people do the same thing through more of an integrative approach of utilizing things like functional medicine lab testing, as well as, you know, finding toxicities within the body, toxic products, toxic environments, and
Mm.
starting to remove those toxicities, as well as replacing the deficiencies within the body. So things like poor nutrition or, you know, lifestyle things that can really help you build yourself back up if you're depleted. I mean, not just nutrients, but also things, you know, like just having joy and fun in your life, and um, things like we're talking about now, getting out of your comfort zone. So these are all little things that integrate into me as a health practitioner and what I do for myself and what I help others do as well. Mostly I dealt with digestive issues and respiratory issues growing up, and a lot of
Mm.
those things have been healed. So I have gained a lot of experience and knowledge in that area. So I mean, that's what I really enjoy helping people get through is chronic digestive and respiratory issues. And that's
Because
kind of
you
how,
had,
what's
and
that?
it's safe to assume that you had such a tough time with that. And like, you know, in the US, where I feel like as an immigrant, right, I have a really good perspective of growing up outside the US, outside the West, right? And then coming to the West. And, you know, in the West, modern medicine is like the holy grail. You know, you have any ailment and modern medicine can cure it. But in your case, modern medicine and all these doctors, right, were unable to heal you. And, you know, sort of a lot of, from what I understand, what you do is, I think, would come under the umbrella of alternative healing that isn't as mainstream. And so, what was it like, sort of, getting out of your comfort zone to explore and understand, you know, this whole side of healing that truly, you know, healed you, you know? And I know we don't want to turn a whole conversation into this, but like in a couple of sentences, for our audience.
Yes. Well, what's coming to me right now, and I never really thought of explaining it this way or saying it this way, but it works out pretty well, is I wasn't in a comfort zone. I was very uncomfortable, and I was looking for comfort, I think. So I had to essentially, the getting out of my comfort zone in that situation was to start to not listen to the doctors. It was to go literally on the vast internet where you know, you can hear everything and anything, and you know, you have to have some discernment, and I
Mm,
had to experiment on myself, you know, and I had to, I mean, there's things that are obvious now, but at the time they weren't so obvious, like things I was
mm,
eating that, you know, I shouldn't have been eating as much of, if at all. A
yeah.
lot of it was, you know, mental, emotional things that were coming up. And all these things would bounce back and forth with each other. Mental, emotional things would play into, you know, things that I would eat or things that I would react to and play
Mm,
out in other habits of my life. And then those things would then make me feel worse. And it's just kind
mm,
of like this vicious cycle, I think, that most of us get into and we don't really realize it. And then once you can learn to break that cycle, you can essentially do the same thing, but the opposite way and go in an upward spiral. And you can, you know, do the things that make you feel good, and then your feelings of goodness make you do more things that will keep you feeling good in a very
amazing. Yeah. Yeah, and I know it's hard to sort of get into, in just a few sentences, but I appreciate that, and I feel like that resonates with me. So, should we tell our audience about how the story of how we met? Would you like to start us off? Then I'll jump in.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm just gonna plug my phone in because I'm
Yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah.
middle of
Go
it
for
right
it.
here. Um, yeah, so we met at the hot springs. So we were at Hot Sulphur Springs, Heather and I, and
Mhm.
we're sitting in the magnesium-rich pool and
Mm.
just chilling. Like you can't do anything but chill at the hot springs.
Highly recommend if you've never been to a hot spring, get your butt to Colorado or California or Wyoming or Canada and go check out a hot spring. Arkansas, if you're in Texas, right? Go to a
Yeah,
hot spring.
Idaho, Montana, anywhere really like in the West. I think there's
Yeah.
like an abundance of hot springs. You just got to kind of find them. New Mexico, um, yeah, they're the best. And I didn't really know about them until I came out here. And my first hot springs that I ever went to, oh, this is a great one for getting out of your comfort zone. So
Tell us.
Mitch and I, we were going to like just testing different hot springs out. And
Hmm.
so like one of the first ones we go to is like 2 miles into the woods, like around nothing. It's a little like really cold spring that's coming out, creek that's coming beside it, and this hot spring that's flowing right into the cold creek.
Hmm.
And we're sitting there, and there's nobody around. I think at this point, maybe there was one other person, but they were kind of leaving. And Mitch and I get into like it is dirty, like mud, like this black mud in there, and it was hot and just like you kind of like it wasn't like this nice built up hot spring like we went to,
Hmm.
like where you got to pay money and they got all like the decks and the different hot tubs and all these things.
The amenities.
Yeah, it was just you're out in the woods and people just built a little like rock sculpture with it. And so we're sitting in this like really muddy hot spring and these two guys come up butt ass naked and with their dog, with their like this really little dog. And we're just hanging out in this hot spring, just like okay, whatever, what's up? And these guys were like super. They wanted to get as close to you as they could. They wanted to talk to you. They wanted to tell you about everything. And their dog is like running around all over the place. This little tiny dog. And oh yeah, and there was some other people there because they had a dog too. And then all of a sudden, this little dog is trying to get at this big dog. And so this big naked guy is just like hobbling around the rocks, trying to like capture his dog and bring
Oh
it,
my
like
God.
wrangle his little dog in. And it was quite the experience. That was the first time at my first hot springs. And they were telling us about the mud too and how like awesome the mud was. And they were like rubbing it on their skin and saying like all the healing benefits of this mud and all this stuff. So that was pretty weird. But anyways, yeah. So you and I met
What an
at the Hot
experience.
Sulphur Springs here in
Yeah.
Colorado, and just hanging out. And I think you just were kind of like you just wanted to talk. You just wanted to see who
Yeah.
we were.
Yeah, so a little bit of background. So at that point, I'd been in Colorado for a few weeks, and one of the intentions that I set for myself as part of my nomadic journey is to just fall deeper in love and embrace my solitude, because solitude has been something, as a very extroverted person, something that I couldn't deal with, right? But there's a lot of power in solitude, and I recognize that. And as part of my training, I wanted to sort of, get better at that. And so when we met, I was coming off of essentially a whole week of not really seeing any humans. Kind of like a, I wouldn't call it a silent retreat, but I was definitely, quarantining myself, but not really quarantining. And so I, as an extrovert, had all of this energy, like this energy to just talk and absorb and engage. And I was just able to very beautifully, and you all were very receptive, obviously. I think there's a lot to be said there as well, in like allowing me to unfurl, this pent up energy that I had, right? And I think for a lot of people, doing that is getting out of their comfort zone, right? Like a lot of people, we live in a society where the norm is, you stay in your lane and like you go to places with your people and you socialize with them,
Yeah. Or
as
on your
opposed to
phone.
like, yeah, or on your phone. But I
Yeah.
think the vibe in the hot springs also just like, I think it's like tied to our ancient human history where it just like forces people to come together despite their strangeness to one another. And it was very easy for me. And obviously you were open and I'm inherently extroverted. So it was easier for me to just get out of it. Didn't feel like getting out of my comfort zone. I was just like, okay, we're going to just connect with these people and see what happens. And it was quite a beautiful connection because our conversation, what started, led to us spending the rest of the day together, right? And that, you know, encounter leading us not only to many other beautiful moments, but this moment right here where you and I are like over 1,000 miles apart, right? And in your words, talking to each other through a phone while like the rest of the world watches us do so, right?
Right.
And to know that we had a chance encounter and it's turned into something so meaningful, beautiful, where we're preaching the gospel of getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, baby. All the way from the beginning. I
Yep.
mean, because we were going to talk about this too. We started doing, so we met, we started getting to know each other a little bit. Heather, you, me, her mom, and then we were going to like all these different pools together and
Yep.
testing them all out. And then we ended basically the day with it's kindred meditation. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, kindred meditation, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's a form of meditation that I'm involved in. It's very unique. It's a movement-based meditation that I believe, as somebody who's tried more traditional forms of meditation and really struggled with it, I feel like this movement-based meditation really allows me to get into my body, tap into, sort of the intuitive sense that, as part of everyday life, we're so divorced from, right? We live our lives using the intellect, ignoring the fact that there's so much wisdom, there's so much genius within our intuitive sense. And it's really when you sort of use both of them and cause them to like come into circuit with one another that you're truly tapped into your full potential. And kindred meditation is that way that I found has worked for me. We're not going to spend time talking about it today, but basically, long story short, kindred, it's different. It's not like you stay quiet and like do your meditation. You're all over the place and your eyes closed and you're, everything. And basically, we were in an environment where we just met and we're in a public place and Sinjin, this brave fucking guy, is like allowing me, giving me permission to like lead him through kindred meditation without much background, without much
Oh,
introduction, right? We're
oh,
just getting
and
into
by the
it.
way, that was the first time I ever met Heather's mom too.
Oh wow. So like giving yourself the permission to be able to just let loose and do something that you've never been done before that is like weird in the best of ways, in front of your like partner's mother who you're meeting for the first time. That's kudos to you, buddy. Kudos to
But
you.
that was definitely a very weird, and I mean Heather definitely wanted, like, she was the one trying to do it too.
She
So
was. She
yeah,
was. Kudos to her for
yeah,
like
totally.
pushing us all along. Yeah.
And kudos to you for bringing it up. You could have easily just held it in and been like, "Oh no,
I
this is
wanted
too."
to. There
Yeah,
was a big part of me that was like, I need more time. I need music. I need the right setting.
yeah.
But I'm glad that I allowed Heather to just like, for us to, do it, right? Because it was beautiful. Like just to witness you, sort of do that. But
Which I don't
don't
even
want to
know what I was
digress.
doing. Oh, and by
Yeah.
the way, I think you said that was your first time ever doing it in person too.
Yes, yes, because of COVID, all of my exposure to kindred meditation and like doing it with other people, right? Because kindred meditation is a communal practice. It was just through Zoom. And so meeting with Sinjin and Heather and doing it with them, it was like my first live human beings in front of my face, experience, doing it outdoors. So.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was super weird. It was awesome though.
Yeah, and like what a perfect example of, getting out of our comfort zone by like going to a hot springs, which is not a common activity here in this country, unlike places like Iceland or out there. And then sort of allowing ourselves, opening ourselves in a way to just let a complete stranger come into our lives and build a meaningful connection with them, right? And then further getting out of our comfort zone by like taking that a step further and allowing each other to share something that's so deep, and for you to make yourself more vulnerable to sort of try this thing that's so different. Um, Let me ask you this. As a result, because this is not something that we've had a chance to talk about, what was that experience like for you, right? Like, do you feel that it paid off? And so, we never really got to talk about that.
Yeah, well, like from what I remember saying that I could have gone deeper, I think. Like I feel like I was just
Hmm.
getting kind of warmed up. And
Yeah,
I think that's because it was like I was in this weird environment. I didn't really like know what was going on.
yeah.
I'm like just meeting, you know, you and Heather's mom, and like just like kind of just I don't know, and that might have even made it more easy at the same time because it was
Hmm.
like, all right, like I don't know these people, like whatever, just be weird about it, who cares? Um, but I don't know if those types of things that happen when you actually put yourself out there, when you actually just do it and go for it, no matter
Hmm.
how weird it is or sometimes scary or
Hmm.
whatever the feeling that comes up, leads
Hmm.
to like it's not like a trauma, but it's like it's a memory that sticks.
Hmm.
And I think those, like when you have more of those moments of getting out of your comfort zone and doing something weird like kindred meditation in front of a bunch of people you don't know at a hot springs in the middle like of the day, like
Hmm.
that is a memory that will last. Whereas if
Hmm.
you and I both just like held on to the fear and you didn't say anything and I chose not to do it, it would have just been another
Hmm.
day. And it wouldn't have
Hmm.
really like held any weight to it. It wouldn't have really created that that space and that memory for, you know, ultimately the real feeling of getting out of your comfort zone, which is being able
Hmm.
to feel okay about life and essentially say like, if I died tonight, I'd
Hmm.
be okay. I'd feel okay with it, And I kind of took
Hmm.
that a little drastically, but essentially that's the whole point of getting out of your comfort zone in life is because if you don't do that, you're you're not living. You're not living in
Hmm.
the comfort zone. You're just like, what is it? You're alive, but
Existing,
you're
you're
not actually living.
surviving. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I want to come back to and build on, what you said, but I want to sort of go back for just a second and call something out that I think that you said that's like marvelous is a lot of times I think I get the sense that because earlier you said how part of what allowed you to say, heck, just gonna do it, do this weird thing, like get out of my comfort zone, is that you said you were surrounded by strangers, right? And so that like lowered the bar for you, if I heard you correctly. And that's so interesting to me because I get the sense that when we talk about like fear and the fear that like keeps people playing within their comfort zone and living within their comfort zone, I get the sense that that's more as a result. Like if we were to interview people, that more of them would feel uncomfortable doing something weird in front of a stranger, even though what a stranger thinks matters the least, and they would feel more comfortable if they were coaxed into something with someone they knew, right?
hmm
So obviously, I understand that, like, you're doing something crazy with someone that you know, there's that reassurance, but like, if it's new for both of you, there could be judgment, right? Because after all, that other person's human, and that judgment could color the rest of your relationship with them, be it a significant other, family, whatever, you know? But doing it with a stranger, to your point, like who cares? They're not going to be there if you don't want them to in your life. Yet, this fear that we curtain ourselves, from, the judgment of the stranger. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like a dual thing. It's more along the lines you're not really afraid of either knowing the person or not knowing it. You're afraid of just the judgment itself, I think. And I'm sure there's something
Yeah.
deeper than what it is, but it's more of just like it's just a fear in general. But
Hmm.
I don't know. It would have been. You know what I think would have been more afraid for me though. How like it would have
What?
been if my parents were there.
Oh yeah?
I think if my parents were there and I did that, I think I would have been. I don't know if I would have done it. That would have been interesting. No, yeah, I don't know. I probably would have still, but it would have been the same level of. There would have been some fear there for sure. Because
Yeah,
they're just like, what is he doing?
yeah.
But then I think, oh, my mom probably would have done it too, actually.
Yeah, for sure. So, dude, let's talk about plunging. Let's like go from the opposite of a hot spring to cold plunge. How do you feel
Yeah,
about that?
feels like a great transition. Feels like I want to do it 7 times, hot and in the hot, then in the cold, in the hot, in the cold,
Hot,
because that's
cold,
the
hot,
best
cold.
way.
Hey, I know we talking about this earlier, but I'd be very interested. I feel like I've heard people talk about, the benefits of, the hot, cold, and like cold plunges, but who really knows, right? Like I don't know, sort of evidence that shows. So I think it's interesting that we still sought it out, right? And I know that the video that I shared, in the lead up to today's IG live was my first real experience, cold plunging, right? But you've obviously done this before. So I'm very interested to learn more about your story of A, how you were exposed to it, B, what drew you to it, right? And C, what keeps you to continue pursuing it, to help us understand the inner workings of why.
Yeah, so why I was drawn to it is a little different. Like, so for the benefits side of it,
Hmm.
so I know the benefits of hot springs, at least
Yeah,
mineral hot springs, right? So you go
for
to the hot
sure.
springs and like it feels good, you get warm, and like
Hmm.
it's very relaxing. And then you have all these like, trace minerals that you're soaking
Yep.
in, or even like other minerals like zinc and then the sulfur and magnesium and all these things, and you're getting all these benefits that way. But with cold plunging, there's benefits, but I don't remember them. I don't really know them offhand. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure I could spend a minute, conjuring something up that I can remember. But I literally did it because, well, first of all, I just moved here a year ago, and then I it was during COVID, and there was like nothing to do, and it was like
Mm.
becoming January, and I didn't know anybody, so I literally got on. And I've been doing like different types of breath work for a while. So like when you learn
Yeah.
about different breath works, cold plunging kind of comes into that scene. So like I've heard of people
Yeah.
doing it, and when I grew up, in my hometown, there was people doing what they call a polar plunge.
Oh
And
yeah.
the polar plunge essentially is just a cold plunge. Just people, they didn't talk about benefits. They just did it as something crazy in the winter to do.
Yeah.
And people would
After
all gather
smashing a lot
together
of
and like,
beers,
what's that?
after smashing a lot of beers, was this like a party activity or was it
No,
more
no,
like,
it was like a community thing. Like
okay,
the community would kind of all do it, and they would like their kids would
okay,
do it, and it would be just like
okay.
I don't remember people actually going in and staying in. It would be like
Yeah.
I hear just people just going in and then like getting real wet and then running out and being like, "Woo, I did it," kind of thing.
Okay.
But I never went, so like I kind of wonder what it was like and what people did know and what kind of knowledge of people that were there, especially
Yeah.
growing in my hometown. But yeah, so I just was going on Facebook and I think I was just looking for like local groups so I could meet people. And I'm pretty sure I just came across, Colorado Cold Plunge Crew or something. I think that's the name of it. And they were going, they had certain dates they were going. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go do this. I remember hearing about it, and I know people do this. I know people get in the cold water, and there's like, you know, there's benefits or whatever to it. But I just wanted to
Mm.
like see if I could do it. And this was January,
Wow.
so it was like,
In Colorado.
yeah, snow everywhere, and I was like, "Oh my God, I gotta try this." So I show up, and there was like, I didn't like, I've never been there before, so I'm like looking around, and all of a sudden I just see like four people with towels in their hands, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is real." And I was so scared because I was like, "There's fucking snow on the ground," and the creek that we were getting into just had ice like along the sides, and there's snow everywhere. And I was just like, "Oh my God, this is gonna be awful," but I was excited because I wanted to do it, and the
Yeah.
people were cool too, like all very like, you know, what's up, awesome, glad you joined kind of thing. So like it felt really good
Yeah.
to finally be around people and to be around like this really weird activity that we were going to do. And it started off as like Luke, he's like the kind of the moderator of the group. He kind of like started the group, and
Mm.
so he was there and he's kind of like walking us through like, usually people will do like breath work like you and I did beforehand. We didn't do any
Mm.
breath work. We just like kind of checked in with each other. So it was like, how are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? So like, why are you here to jump in this cold water? So like we were kind of just like really making sure we had like, that we were present is kind of like how I saw it, like being present in the moment. And
Yeah.
so I think what I said is more like I just wanted to like get into the community in Boulder here, and then um,
Because you were new.
yeah, because I was new, and then I think I can't even remember. I think what I initially did it because it's been almost a year now, so I can't remember why I initially got into it. Anyways, I had a reason why, but I can't think of it right now. Either way,
Yeah.
I was there, I showed up, and man, it was cold. It was so cold, and it was like the whole time I was like, I want to do it, but I don't want to do it. I want to do it, but I don't want to do it. Oh my God, how long am I going to last in there? Like, what am I going to what's my reaction going to be? Like, am I going to freak out in there? Am I going to die? Am I going to, like, what's going to happen? And like, I think I lasted longer than I thought I was going to last. I lasted like almost 2 minutes or something in there. And, I felt good about it and got out and like felt the feeling of like, like you get really hot and your body's kind of red and you're just like, it was awesome.
Wow. Wow. And so tell me more about, because I'm sure getting into the water and, sort of putting yourself through that in the middle of January, it took a lot of courage to sort of get there, right? And I think I get the sense that a lot of people, try something once, and that's great, that they try it. But you kept coming back, right? So what was it about that experience that was transformative, right? What was that like leap of faith, getting out of your comfort zone, and that experience, or maybe the after effects, right? That was transformative, that pulled you back in just
Oh,
when you thought you were in.
so this is what I love about it, and I love the answer to this question for myself. And
Yeah,
it's not, and like I said, I didn't really do it for any of like, like the immune boosting benefits and all that. But the benefit that I get from it is actually the process of getting in to the water. And it's what I was talking about where my mind is telling me no. And I'm like, don't do it. And I'm scared and I'm afraid. And I literally switch it off. Like there's a point and I'm getting better at it, but there's a point where like I just shut it off and I get in. And the reason why I love that and the reason why I kept going back is because I can take that moment, that like success moment of getting in and like just doing it and getting out of my comfort zone, getting in the cold water, and I can apply that in other areas of my life. So now like when I think about doing something else that I don't want to do, I have like almost a muscle memory or like a way of being like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, and then you shut it off and you just do it. And
yeah,
I just build that, and the cold plunge helps me build that.
yeah. And you know what? Not that you need it, not that you need it, but I want to share something to sort of validate what you're saying. And this is fucking gold, All of you out there watching this in the future and currently watching it, Christopher, thank you for your support and your time here. But especially all of you who are going to be watching this in the future, this is freaking gold, okay? Because a friend of mine, Jesh, was talking about how so Tony Robbins, right? He supposedly does a cold plunge every single day, I mean, he has an artificial setup, I'm guessing, somewhere at his house, whatever, right? And he's talked about how he loves it and blah, blah, blah. But there's one thing that stuck with me about the story, which is um, he acknowledged that, there are a lot of times he never feels the desire to go in. okay, there's always like a resistance. And he says, I just don't negotiate with myself. Here's a thing that he knows that you know is good for you because of the memory, the muscle that it allows you to practice, right? And build. And it's tough. And as a result, you know that, but to do it, you need to go through this like struggle, right? But you don't negotiate yourself with that, right? That can be applied to training for your sport, or practicing your craft, whatever it might be. So words of wisdom that have been spewed just now.
I mean, it's just it happens to everybody too. Like everybody that I talk to that continues to join, that does the cold plunge crew, like you like everything that I'm saying, they can like they say too, and I'm sure that's like with pretty much everybody. Like nobody wants to get in. Like I don't know. There's maybe a couple crazy people out there that just like really want to just be cold, but I bet you that they would even say there's a point, even if it's small, where they're like, oh no. Like you just don't want to do it. And then you do it anyways. Because actually, after you do it once or a few times, at least for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people that continue to do it, like you feel so good afterwards. Like it is like a feeling of, like, you know. How did you, so let me ask you, like, how did you feel after, this wasn't your first time, but it was like, and I'm going to comment on that at some point, how long that we stayed in there. I mean, granted, it wasn't, 32 degrees running water, but
Yeah.
I mean, it was probably in the 40s.
I mean, I think, see, I think I mentioned this earlier. Inherently, I'm an extrovert, right? So I get my energy from those around me, right? And so like being in community, right? In that moment with you and then Heather and the other friend that joined, that gave me the courage to say, we're doing this. We're doing this, right? And I think that obviously it was very cold getting in, and the anticipation leading up to it, and especially as you like slowly descend, because I think there's different strategies, right? Like, so Heather just like fucking dove in, right? I wasn't quite sure what your strategy was, but I was like coming in bit by bit, and for some people I feel like that's harder. I don't know. I haven't ever like just plunged in, like jumped in, so I can't say if that'd be easier for me. Suffice it to say, it's not easy to like get there, at least for me, as one of the few times that I've done it. But I think just being in community, being in communion rather with all of you gave me that will to say, we're gonna fucking do this. And I think the other thing that sort of was a part of me in that moment, so long story short, about 7, 8 years ago, I had a mental breakdown, right? It was the most powerful experience that I've had. It took me to my darkest dark, but I am who I am today because of that, right? And so while I was sort of grappling with that, one of my therapists who, really specializes in CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, one valuable lesson that she taught me is, in other words, embrace the suck, sort of when things suck, just accept it and let go, right? And sort of don't fight it, right? As part of coping with my anxiety and like the disorder that I have. And I think in that same principle, applied because I knew that I needed to get fully in the water. There was no negotiating with that, right? And so I was just going to come to peace with it and just embrace it and go at my pace, give my body, but determined to get down to where the level that you were, which is up to your neck, right?
I
Um,
have to go up to my neck. I can't do half. It's like
yeah,
I had to go all the way in. And you like stuck your head under a couple times and I was like, the reason I don't do that is because I was like, I don't want to have wet hair and be cold. Like I keep my hands like this and just
yeah,
like, which, I think there are like, that's the next step for me is to like kind of just let my hands go and get okay with my hands and like getting my, that's the nice thing about the other spot that we didn't go to is like you can have the option, which I could have done like what Heather and what I think his name Ryan did, and they just like jumped in. But like then you like kind of jump in and you get fully submerged, then you come up and it's like this because you get shocked when you jump into that water, like full on, and you go completely submerged and you pop out and you're like, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna just chill in this cold water here now. So like my technique, I guess, at that moment was I just kind of went in slowly and I just feel it. I just feel all the cold and just submerge myself in and just like it's all in the head at that point. Because like
hmm,
yeah, it sucks no matter what. Like everything is cold. There's not going to be a moment that you get that's warm. So you can't even like hope for that. So at this point it's all about like your mind just being like, all right, just like do something different than freak out. Like do whatever you want except freak out right now. And so sometimes it'll be like it's mostly for me it's observing. So I'm just observing like okay, what's getting coldest the fastest? Like oh, it's like my legs, or no, it's my feet. Like oh, this is really warm now. And that's usually what helps is like you start thinking about gratitude and being thankful for parts that like oh right here in my armpits that's kind of warm even though it's fucking cold but you're like that's kind of warm, it's warmer than my feet or not as cold as my feet. And
yeah,
so like there's like all these things that like you can either think about how bad it is and just freak out and get out of the water, which is cool, or you can
yeah,
like learn to just like observe your mind and like observe what's going on and then utilize, the different tools of language like gratitude and being grateful and like I don't know, being curious of what's happening. And then when you can get like that, you can get real calm. And then I can look around and I can see you and I can see Heather and I can see Ryan and I can like be like, hey, what's going on? And then you can start to chat a little more. Then it's not all about you. It's about, oh, I'm here now. What's happening? Like how's it going?
yeah. Amazing. And sort of kind of trying to bring this full circle, I think, you know, there was one thing that you said earlier that I really want to build on, which is doing things like this, which force you out of your comfort zone, almost create this muscle which allows you to sort of, apply that same type of thinking in other things in your life, right? And I think one thing that I want to add to that is doing things that are outside of your comfort zone is usually for the most part outside of other people's comfort zone as well. There's obviously variability in this, but there's a level of, I feel, self-judgment and sort of fear that we have to overcome in order to be able to do things that are weird, that are crazy, but not self-harm, right? But just crazy. that I think um, also build a muscle, the muscle of courage, the muscle of bravery, the
Mm.
muscle that ultimately builds one's belief in oneself, right? And when we think about success in life, to me, that means doing something that nobody else has thought of, that nobody else is doing, or doing something in a way that nobody else has done before, right? And believing in yourself that that way of thinking, which allows you to do something differently, is one that's worth it, right? And I feel like getting out of my comfort zone and practice doing that with different things allows me to build up my courage, my bravery, ultimately my belief in myself to say, fuck yeah, I am seeing this part differently. And I think that this could be successful. And I truly believe that. And if I feel the strong enough desire, I'm going to pursue that, be it a business, like in your case, or which, you're the first person that I've come across who is doing something like this, right? Or be it art, right? Or be it just, writing, whatever it is, right? Doing it different because you give yourself the permission to do things that are different by stepping out of your comfort zone. Thank you so much for tuning in to the very first episode of the Get Out of Your Comfort Zone podcast. I truly hope it resonated with you. If you would like to further connect with Sinjin Larson on Instagram, his handle is integrative_native, and his email is sinjin@integrativenative.com. That's spelled SIN as in Nancy, JIN as in Nancy. Additionally, if you would like to connect with me on social media, my Instagram handle is Farhizi, which is spelled FARHEEEEEZY. That's correct. There are 4 E's. Until the next episode, I wish you love and light. Thank you so much.